Hey, good evening, guys. Hear me all right there, Tom?
Yep.
Perfect.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Tom, were you able to kind of take a look at last week's video?
Yeah.
Okay,
I will.
that's just fine. We're gonna kind of quickly probably recap last one. Last one ended up going probably a good hour and a half. It's just like,
Okay.
hey, if you want to talk football, we'll talk football. But shame on me for thinking we could talk all aspects of kicking game in one meeting. It could probably take up an entire summer.
Yeah.
So we'll start off that way. Actually, I'll just start right now. We'll start off that way. Just kind of reviewing some of the stuff we talked about there, because what happened was I had huddle plays queued up. I actually sent them to you, Tom. They're basically our kind of weekly kind of what do I want to say, clips that I would send out for learning purposes and whatever. And so I had a bunch of them queued up for the kicking game because everything goes wrong there. And so I wanted to talk about not only mechanics for us, but maybe rules-based as well, because if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong there. And just stuff kind of going back to the original purpose of, like I said, last year I heard somebody talk about how on any given night, anybody can be a crew saver. And so one thing for us is just knowing clocks, things like that, because we're going to be on top of them all game. That can help us out. But just rules knowledge in general, we might not be the covering official, but if we can bring knowledge to the table, it's gonna bail us out. So I'm gonna pull up and kind of just quickly review, because I can finally get to those huddle clips this week. I'm gonna go share screen. All right. Shoot. Which one do we want first? All the way down here. So I was saying last week, Minnesota Metro is going to take all this down because there's only a lot of storage space. And so I thought they took them down already on me before I could save some of it, but popped back up for me. So now I can save it. So last week, Tom, we were just talking about a big thing was positioning. Actually, we really only took a look at a couple of scrimmage kick or punt plays. And Tom, do you remember seeing this one that I sent out? I sent you those clips, right? And do you remember seeing this one?
Yeah, I remember this one.
All right. So last week we were talking about mechanically we're going to set up, and now that we have the new line of scrimmage official stuff, it would stay that we're on the head linesman's side. We're going to go 10 yards, 12 yards to the side on the head linesman's side. And well, now they're switching at half, right? So I said, I'm just going to defer to the chain side until I hear differently. And then we set up a couple of yards behind. That's going to give us a good angle. And I put up a play that I had, and we talk about keeping that bungee. You want to kind of keep that distance. One thing we ended up talking about, and this is a perfect play for it, we spent a lot of time talking about a play in which I had a fair catch signal. And then what ended up happening was I had a bad angle on it, and the kid ended up picking up the ball. So what happens here is we have a fair catch signal here. And so what happens, what we need to know, he's going to end up muffing this football, right? Well, he touched it. Nobody's going to be able to advance this thing if somebody recovers it, because our had a fair catch signal, right? And so if they get possession of this ball, this play is going to be dead. However, kicking team can't advance and muff. And so this play is going to be dead when somebody recovers this football. And so this one was just a fun play because he muffs this thing. So it says, depth is your friend, kind of work back and come up. What I like, he had great initial positioning. Kind of here, he's a couple of yards behind. I like to stay behind, and I'll have an example where it kind of almost wrecked me from kind of a positioning standpoint. I might have missed something. Because once we have secure possession here, it's not going to matter so much maybe on a fair catch play like this, but let's say he didn't signal for a fair catch. He's got a lot of room here. If he sits back here, upon catch, there's no threat there. And so he can quickly transition his eyes upfield. Where if he's in line with him here or in front, he's going to almost turn his whole body, right? Set yourself up in position initially. So once I have catch, boom, now I can just look here. Now I can see those oncoming threats and find the next threat. So this was just an interesting play because we're going to end up muffing it. Can you guys see this all right? Is it choppy at all? Just playing all right? Perfect. Perfect. So we have a muff, all right? But we had a fair catch signal. So now we know, again, this is happening in real time. So it's going to blow up on you. And now the kicking team, he, has control almost. And then that ball comes right out. Good job, I said right here by the back judge. You'll see him come in. Can you guys see him kind of killing the clock there? Or not? Or your face is in the way, because that's what's happening on my screen. But he'll come in and kill, right? Good for him. That's what he had, and whatever else. On the breakdown of the film, I said, for me personally, it's a little bit quick. I don't think you could have ruled that he had possession. I think it's pretty fast. But good for him to come in and know he's got possession. He can't advance this ball. Comes in and kills this thing. I don't think the line judge necessarily knew that. I mean, he's officiating the play as it is, and he comes in and now he has a spot. And I think the whole premise here was, I think the notes will come up, we're going to have all sorts of communication here that will have to take place, because we have one guy killing the clock up top. We have one guy killing the clock down here. Good thing, because what happens is that kill the clock signal, I talked last week, is you can stand there and say, holy crap, what just happened? And you can give yourself some time to kind of piece together what exactly happened. So I gave kudos to this guy. He had K in possession right away, and so this discussion will be really fast. Hey, line judge, no, we had K with possession up here. He's down up here. It's going to be K's ball, 1st and 10 going this way. K's at the bottom of this pile with the ball down there too. But just knowing the rules, just having this kicking game rules coverage down is just going to help and be of your crew's entire benefit to be able to piece things together and kind of the play that I had last week. I had a fair catch signal, kid muffed it. Well, it's kind of coming at an angle along the sideline. And my whole thing was, because I was looking straight into his back, I didn't know when he had possession. And so then all of a sudden he ends up falling out of bounds. And I kind of pieced it together instead of getting the right information. Because my head linesman came down, he's like, you're spotting it at the 35, or he's like, he wanted to put it at the 35. I said, no, we had a fair catch signal. And I kind of guessed as to when we had possession, instead of saying, instead of asking him, did you see when he gained possession of that ball? Because we had a fair catch signal. Just putting together, communicating, piecing the right pieces of information together. I chimed in. Obviously, all these are recorded. We can go back and look whenever. I jumped in on the line of scrimmage meeting last week, and a big thing that they spent a lot of time about was talking about spotting the ball. Of course, in accordance to reaching the line to gain or not, but the big one too was putting it on a big line. Tom, do you know what we're kind of talking about if we put it on a big line?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if
it's close.
Right, they're talking, let's say I fair catch this ball at the 42.5 yard line, but we don't want to put the stakes at the 42.5 yard line and have a first down at the 32.5. We want nice landmarks. Now, granted, some of our fields aren't the best to work with as far as stripes and where they're positioned and whatever else, but if we have those yard lines, we can go from the 42 to 32. And if they get the ball, first run is to 31, yep, bang, first down, here we go. But they did talk about the back judge, because obviously 98% of the time the line of scrimmage officials are going to be getting these spots, and they're going to be putting them on the big lines, or if they're short, make them short, if kind of a thing. But we're going to come into play on plays like this. We're going to come into play on punts. We're going to come into play on long passes, big plays, in which those line of scrimmage officials are 15, 20 yards behind. We're going to have the best idea on those ones. So what I do, let's say on a long pass, maybe he reaches out and catches this thing and he slides on the turf, right? Well, once he possessed it and he's down, survives the ground, well, he's down, but he might have slid 3 more yards in front of him. I'll just either shout out loud 32, 32, or I'll get on my radio and say 32, because I probably have the best idea of where that ball would be placed, and so I'll just say 32, and again, putting it on a big yard line for us. Another one where it came into play, they brought up as far as spotting the ball. Let's say we're on a punt play here. Super. Let's say this kick was inside the 10 and nobody was around it except the kicking team's coming down to cover this ball. Then it gets dicey because now this spot it matters. They had a good kick on both ends of the field. The closer you get to the goal line, the stronger that spot needs to be. Because you're either short or you're in or whatever else. But if they have a good kick, I know in the NCAA, the adage is if it's downed inside the 5-yard line, you put it exactly where the ball is declared dead. You put it exactly, if it's the 2.5, you put it at the 2.5. And so for that first series, guess what? Yeah, our first down is going to be at the 12.5 because it's a pretty important part of the field. And we want to be pretty, the kicking team made a fantastic play. We want to give them credit for it. And so that's really the time in which that spot on our end is going to be super specific. Aside from, of course, if we're standing on the goal line, ruling goal line, and he breaks the plane, obviously, or he's short, we're short, half-yard line, come in and kill. We'll put it at the half-yard line in that situation. But that's when we really need to be specific, as opposed to the middle of the field. And, we have just a minimal return by the guy. He gets tackled at the 42.5. We come in and kill the clock, and you're just kind of like, well, is he closer to the 42 or to the 43? We want to put it on a big yard line. Is anybody really paying attention up in the stands as to, hey, now he shorted us out of 2 feet at the 43? No, we want to put it on a big yard line, make it easy for us going forward. So they talked a lot about spots, and that's where we would come into play with that. Making sure that on those long plays in which the wing officials are working from behind, we'd probably have the best vantage point at that. And of course, if they're pinning us deep inside the 5 for certain, if they down it at the 2.25, put it at the 2.25. Give them credit for that. Got another. Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, you're going to be. Yeah, question. You're going to be precise on that going in as well. So let's say a 30-yard pass down to the 2.5-yard line, you're going to put it right on the 2.5, right?
Because your goal to go.
Right. Right.
Yep. So we're not using stakes or whatever, but I might not have that great of eyes if he is diving extended and he slides that 3 yards forward. I don't know if I'll have those laser eyes to say he's at 2.25. But yeah, you could definitely use that adage as well.
Okay.
Because we don't have, line to gain involved. So yeah, put it in the best spot that you can find there, Jim. Good question though on that one. Yeah, and anybody chime in here as we move along.
The best part about this play for the officials is that the black team recovers at the end here. Otherwise, you got two officials.
Karma on the field. Karma on the field. Yeah, for sure. What I have for another, just kind of dealing with kicking. I have a good example here from the same clip, actually different clip, as far as some kicking rules, scrimmage kick rules, and then two, the importance of working from behind, getting that depth to be able to look upfield. So we're gonna have another punt, same game it looks like. And what happens as they come downfield is we have one threat, here he comes, right here. And I think my note has to do with the line judge is looking at this block here, right in there, and they're gonna rule on, because what could happen is this kicking team player could go flying into this guy's grill. Well, what are you gonna do? You're like, well, obviously it's kick catch interference, right? So you'll drop your flag unless you are absolutely certain that he's blocked into it, but you'll put your flag down because line judge is looking right at this, right? So so this just says a discussion may be need to have if kicking team player ends up interfering with the return player and how he got there, but we don't have any issues on this play. What ends up happening is the kicking team player almost interferes, or the returning team player almost interferes with the returning team player. And so at that point you have nothing, and somebody's going to get chewed out. Somebody's going to be not happy with somebody else. And everybody on the field too here is responsible for their spot and where they are. So if this ball were to happen to drop down from the sky and hit return team player in the helmet, that's a touch. The receiving team has now touched it. We don't have a fair catch signal, so the return team could pick this up and advance it. But of course it's live, and the kicking team could actually pick it up as well. But remember, they can't advance that muff. So if we does have this, if we do have contact there with K and R, we're going to have a flag down for it for kick catch interference. But a discussion is going to need to be had if my line judge has information that says, hey, no, he was blocked into him. Then we don't have kick catch interference, and probably that block will be illegal as well. It probably blocked him in the back. So we'd have some other stuff to sort out there. So we go, yep, I already talked about this one. If his teammate ran into him, we don't have a foul. We don't have anything. They're responsible for that, and it'd be interesting to see. But we have good depth here, and it says, I think our next note has a beautiful window. We have secure possession. Now he's going to look upfield. He's going to look upfield and find a threat. Finds it here. And he nice jersey grab to take some steps away, so he's able to locate that threat, make the right call. And so that's really the importance compared to, I'll show you a play here next, as to why that depth is your friend, and be able to transition and see that action. But the next play is kind of similar. Where is it?
Jeff, that KCI too is 15 yards from the interference, correct? It's not if they muff it, the ball goes 10 yards and then we enforce a penalty. It's from the original spot of the interference.
Very, very great point. And two, another point that gets overlooked because we don't see it happen very often, the play's still going. Keep officiating. So if he got ran into, the return team player got ran into a kicking team player, well, who'd the ball touch? Did it touch anybody? Right? You could have it touched R, right? And since it touched R, let's say there was no fair catch signal, it touched R, ball's live, but one of the return team players picks it up and runs it for a touchdown, right? We're good, we're fine, right? And we have kick catch interference, right? They're gonna want a touchdown on that one. And then also with the KCI foul, it's either from the spot of the foul, they award a fair catch and 15 yards, or they can take it from the previous spot as well. So they could go previous spot and march it back 15 and re-kick if they wanted to do it that way as well. But great points from the spot of the foul on that one. So one here where I didn't use depth, and we get into some fun kicking game rules again. I do a good job with the bungee action. Ball's coming down. I keep backing up because he keeps coming toward me. Now he just kind of decides that he's not going to field it and bounce around some more. Goes behind. Now I'm kind of straight in line with him. Well, if I were setting up about back here, I could see that, still in the sideline. I could see him pick up that ball and then transition my eyes straight up field to see maybe a naughty block here. But I'm looking right at him. Luckily, nobody's around him, and so says get eyes up to find a threat. Nobody's around him, so I get up quick enough to see this block in the back there by 58. So I'll drop the flag there. And now we've got some get progress, right? Plays over. Now it's pretty important because I threw this flag. It's really important that I start my penalty reporting as during the return. During the return, illegal block in the back, number 58 of the return team. 10-yard penalty from, we got a couple aspects here. So if we have something called post scrimmage kick or PSK fouls and enforcement, well, that happens during the kick. So if 58 blocked in the back upfield during the kick, PSK enforcement comes into play. That's why we bag the end of the kick. And that'll come into play. Return team foul downfield during the kick. Return team, it's their ball at the end of the play. Then that foul is assessed at the end of the kick, regardless of how far they returned it. So PSK during the kick. Well, this one I needed to make certain that illegal block in the back during the return team number 58. And then on top of it, the foul is in front of the end of the run, right? Usually these get pretty kind of easy because usually a legal block in the back will probably spring somebody for a few more yards. But where's our basic spot here, right? The foul happened in front of the end of the run. So now we go from the end of the run and we go back 10. I mean, do you think somebody in the stands could figure that out? Probably not, but it's right. And you're getting it right. And that's kind of the premise of what we're really doing all this stuff about. And so my penalty reporting on this play is really vital in the fact that during the return, illegal block in the back, number 58 of the return team, we're a 10-yard penalty from the end of the run because the end of the run is behind the foul. So again, all these crazy rules come into play and just really keep you spinning. But if you can get them down, it's definitely going to help your crew out a ton in getting this whole thing right. Or we could get pretty crazy. Let's back up. Let's go to the beginning and crazy kick. So some of these crazy ones, we're not going to be the covering officials, but I kind of wanted to get into kicking rules because A, they're so crazy and we want to get it right. We might not be the covering official on a blocked kick in advance or touch or something like that. But if we can help piece this together to get it right, I will tell you, shoot, I think this is going to be my 15th year working, 15th season working RAOA. I think it was my first year. I was officiating, Friday Night Lights, super awesome. And then on Saturdays, I go to the youth field and work there as a wing official, whatever. One time we had a blocked kick behind the line of scrimmage and it went back a ways. And then all of a sudden the punter just falls on it. And my referee was kind of, all right, first down. He wanted to give it to the kicking team at the spot they fell on it because they recovered this ball, 1st and 10. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, they fell on it back here, whatever, right? Well, then the wing from the other side comes in and says, no, that seems right. I'm like, no way. And did I have the rules knowledge down verbatim, stuff like that? No, but just by being a student of the game and knowing football and whatever else, obviously we'd seen it happen before. But at the same time, at that time, I generalized it as, how would that be? The defense just made a great play. How could they not benefit from this, right? And at the same time, they kind of whatever, and I sprinted from my wing on this side of the field all the way down past the end zone to go in my bag and get my rule book. And I brought it to the middle of the field and just said, all right, look at this. Touching is ignored. Let's go. I think it's rule 5 something. A new series is awarded for. And then there's a whole section on scrimmage kick plays. And I'm like, look, right here. Oh, okay. All right. 1st and goal this way. So if you can be, like we said, any game, we're going to have the opportunity to be a crew saver. And some of these crazy plays, we might not be able to, we're not the covering official, but if, we have our radios open and we get some information, we can help piece this thing together with rules knowledge. I mean, penalty enforcements, downs, clocks, that's entire crew business. All right. The old adage, I mean, since my start was wiped out of, the white hat falls on the white hat. No, we're all going down. We're all getting it right. We're all going down. So if we had a play here in which this this kick gets blocked, and it's blocked behind the line of scrimmage. Let's say it got blocked there, all right? And it's rambling around behind the line of scrimmage. What can happen? What can take place? What's important? What are some things that we need to have or know that's going on here? K could pick it up and advance it, couldn't they? They could pick it up and advance, run. Could they throw a pass? They could throw a pass as long as they're behind the line of scrimmage, right? We need to know, where that line of scrimmage is, right? And where the ball is. Where's the ball right now? All right? Is it behind the line of scrimmage or is it past the line of scrimmage? That's the big deal, because a kick is a kick is a kick. All right? This whole thing is a scrimmage kick. And so that's the play. Case in point number 1, we'll do a quiz question right now. It's a pretty fun one, but it's right out of the case book. First one, it says a scrimmage kick by the kicking team is partially blocked in the neutral zone by R1. The kick goes beyond the neutral zone where R2 muffs it back behind the neutral zone. K2 recovers behind the neutral zone and advances across R's goal line. So the kick got past the line of scrimmage. It was touched here. R tried to pick it up. They muffed it, and it went back behind the line of scrimmage. Kicking team player picked it up and goes all the way downfield and scores a touchdown. Legal? What do we got? It's a fun one. Grant says touchdown. Give him 6. Give him 6. And this one gets extra fun because if he recovers that beyond the line of scrimmage, now what? Is the play changed? Yes, because the ball's past the line of scrimmage. That goes back to the whole muff thing, right? And downfield, ball's past the line of scrimmage, it's been muffed. And so K can't advance a muff. So it's almost like they could get in a game of inches, right? If they recover this thing behind the line of scrimmage, they can get 6 out of it. If they recover it a yard downfield, we're going to kill the play. Good news is you get a first down. Bad news is you don't get those 80 yards and those 6 points, all right? And so just being able to know these rules, because your head linesman, your line judge, obviously they're good, but even regardless of how good they are, their eyes are going to be popping out of their heads, because how often do plays like this happen, right? And just like, all right, let's piece this together. Let's slow down. As a back judge, and I'm covering this play, I'm going to wonder how in the world we're letting a kicking team player score a touchdown off of this, right? Well, let's piece it together. Well, yeah, because, hey, it was muffed beyond the line of scrimmage. Live ball, he picks it up behind the line of scrimmage, so he can advance that. Oh, okay, sounds good. I gave him 6, so let's let it stand. Just kicking team plays, so they're going to mess you up. But the more you know these rules, the better. I mean, it's such a crew saver. If we go back to that first play where we had, fair catch, muff into kicking team's arms, rule dead, other stuff there, what? Clock's going to be dead, right? The clock's going to start on the next snap because we had a legal kick. Also, we're going to set our play clock to 25. We're going to have to move the chains down, 1st and 10. Play clock will start on the ready for play, 25. And I tell you, I know I still don't have it down. It's so crazy, years and years and years of reading rules and case plays and doing quizzes and whatnot. But I promise it gets easier. It definitely gets easier. And one guy that I give a ton of credit to is our guy, Mike Graff. I always call him a walking football rules encyclopedia, because he could just verbatim just spout off, lines of the rule book. Well, yes, but, 6134B states that, whatever. And I just always got in my mind that if he can do that, well, then why can't I do that too? Pretty crazy. You'll learn something new every time you open up that rule book. Who knew? Tom, I know you wanted to talk some mechanics stuff, right? Kind of positioning, keys, coverage stuff. Have you been digging in that mechanics manual?
Yeah, yep.
Yep. All right. How's it going? questions with that? Pretty good?
Yeah, yep.
Good.
Want to see how it flows in game situations.
Absolutely.
You can read all you want, but
Everything is always easier on paper.
Yeah.
I tell you. So I have a few plays here. And so Tom, one big thing, you know, the mechanics book, the rule book, they're the Bibles for us. Hopefully this comes up for me here. What is this? Here we go. One thing is an association last
Hey,
year.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, sorry, this is Matt. Say I joined a little bit late, but I couldn't get to my audio was goofed up. So, hey,
You're all right, Galaxy S25G.
That's right. Hey, one question. I didn't see the play, but you said the fair catch and muff right to the kickers. I'm assuming that was the John Marshall play last year.
No, it's not. It was a different play.
Okay.
It was a
Okay.
different play.
Okay. I was just gonna, because I thought from last year I was told that I should have waited longer and go
Right.
to more of a possession, like a catch, not
Right.
kill it right away like that, right?
Yep. So you know
Okay.
the play we're talking about, and I said one great thing about that play was, Matt, you know the rules, and so you're like, K has possession, they can't advance this. We're done. We're done here. And you came in strong. You're killing the play. You're probably on your whistle a bunch because guys are scrambling over there, right?
Yep.
So you did everything right. And sure, we can go back to film and debate. Was that possession? Was that not possession? And so the learning point there was, well, your line judge was how many yards upfield flapping his arms too. And so now we got to get together and we have to have a conversation. And you're coming in and you're saying, hey, no, I had possession by K up here. They can't advance a muff. It's K's ball right here, 1st and 10. So that was really the learning point there. Last week we talked about all sorts of kicking game rules as far as, you know, fair catches and muffs and stuff like that. It was just a good play that I couldn't bring up last week to review on. Anything else with that, Matt?
No, I think the one thing that we didn't consider, but we did like a few plays later was, you know, because right away they thought inadvertent whistle. That's what they're like, hey, 12-pack, you know, all that stuff. And I said, no, I had a possession. And then he, you know, gets hit by the guy. Well, you know, as I was thinking about that, I'm like, the returner couldn't block anyway, because if he had,
Oh yeah,
you know,
we
like
did talk about
he
that.
came up there and blocked, and right away that didn't register with me until, like I said, you know,
Yeah.
of course, a
Yeah,
couple
we did.
plays later. But
You probably, yeah, you're right. You're probably, because it's not, again, it's one of those things you're just not used to seeing. And I tell
Right.
you what,
Yeah.
I, fortunate enough, a number of years ago, officiating in the Metrodome, and I had that same situation with the block and whatever else, right? Kid comes up, fair catch signal, right? And he's deking him out. And all of a sudden he sees kicking team player come down, and he comes up and he blocks him. Ball rolls into the end zone, right? He blocked him at like the 9, ball rolls in the end zone, result plays a touchback. And I just sat there for a second and I thought, I had never seen it happen before, but I said, you know what? I read that in the rule book that fair catch signaler cannot block until, you know, the play is ended. And I'm like,
Till the end of the kick, right?
What's that?
That's the
Till the end of
they
the
can't block
kick.
until the end of the kick. Yes. Okay.
Right, but when is the end of the kick? When somebody would go out of bounds, somebody would possess this, so it's going to become dead anyways, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. You know, what, half dozen on this side and 6 on the other, whatever, right?
Yeah, okay.
But you're right. And so I just remember thinking, I'm like, he can't do that. So I threw my flag and go up to R. And it's one of those things too, where you're like, this is what I have. You know, I have this. Like, okay, yeah, yep, here we go. Legal block against the fair catch signaler, blocking before the end of the kick. It'll be enforced from, so there we go again, right? Touchback foul happened behind PSK, right? Because their spot goes to the 20, foul happened behind it. So we're going to enforce from the spot of the foul. Back half the distance to the goal line on that. And crazy enough, I think I ended up on the next year's training tape or something, because again, who has ever seen that happen? I hadn't seen it live before. I'm like, just by reading the rule book, I'm like, wait a second. I read that someplace one time. So you're right on that play too. That fair catch signaler could not have blocked anybody if we're going to let that play go.
Go ahead,
Matt.
the one thing I really learned on that one is you know, I kind of shifted my philosophy on those punts because I hated them right as back judge. Like, oh, punts suck because that's when the crap's gonna hit the fan. But I changed my philosophy thinking I'm gonna expect, you know, melee on these. And, yeah, and when it doesn't, it's like, oh, okay, whew, good deal, here we go. But if you're ready for it, it doesn't shock you as fast or as much.
And that was the first thing we talked about on the kicking one last week with free kicks and positioning, and not talking to the kicker about, hey, give me the super secret signal when you're gonna kick onside and all that stuff, right? No, we're preparing the worst. I have a beanbag in my hand every single time, and I'm staring down that line, just waiting for the worst to happen. Ball's gonna blow off, the tee's gonna kick it. Nope, it's an onside kick this way. That's what I'm waiting for. And then once it gets kicked deep and all these guys go past me, you kind of take 2 steps onto the field and might exhale a little bit after, you know, what you hope to have happen. But you're totally right on that point. Yet something's going to, like we're talking about, kicking game, something's going to go bad. And we need to know how to rule on it. A good one, Matt. And then we're getting into kind of keys and coverage here. And so in the mechanics manual, in our mechanics manual from the State High School League, Mechanics Illustrated, and NFHS as well. For the back judge, our initial key for the passing game there is that widest guy on the strong side of the formation, determined by number of eligibles outside of the tackle. Our association decided to go away from that, and we wanted to key on the inside eligible. So in this one, we have 2 of them, Tom. And so that's the one thing that is going to be different, and we want everybody in the association to be on the same page. I brought in a few plays last year as to why it makes sense, and I'll kind of have a couple more plays here as to why we want it that way and how it's going to work to our benefit. But the big thing is that every single crew is doing it the same way. So on this play, we have trips on the bottom of the screen here. And so when we have trips, then we would be responsible for 2 receivers. So we'd have these 2 inside receivers. Who is it over here? My line judge. My line judge is over here. And then in a balanced formation too, Tom, we default to the line judge's side of the field. But here, we're definitely eligible strength on this side of the formation. And so I have 2 eligibles here that I'm going to be responsible for. But the big adage is you don't officiate air, and the fact that there's nothing happening with this guy right now, right? But this guy over here, he's pretty much lined up with his defensive lineman within that yard of the line of scrimmage. So I call this press coverage. And so that's kind of a threat right there. Also, because I think maybe I mark it up on the next one on the end zone view here. Yep, I do. So I kind of mark out here. We're in the middle of the field. That's what we're responsible for, right? And so we also work inside out. On if we're coming across the formation, like my threat, let's say my key was my tight end over here, but it's run to this side and comes down. My tight end comes down, not really threatening anything. I'll just make my way across the field to find a threat. All right. So as far as coverage area, it just makes sense as well, because per mechanics manual, this one comes out of the NFHS one where they kind of shade in the area of coverage. We're responsible for that. It's kind of a box here and it just kind of V's out from there. So it really doesn't make sense to key on a guy that's the furthest out, because what might he do? Just go straight up the sideline. Now I have no idea what's going on in my area of coverage or zone of coverage, right? And so we have 2 over here. And you can see I'm looking right at that first one. I'm looking at that threat there. And so he's going to pop back. And so essentially what I do is I just follow the defensive player on this play, because he's the real threat. He's going to take me to action. Offensive player blocks, fires back. All right. Now that other receiver that was my key comes down and blocks on that guy. So I'm looking at that block. Seeing if we have an issue, and then that defender comes in even more. So I just follow him the entire way, right? Because he was the real threat on the play. want to find something threatening to officiate. So I just followed him all the way to the party because he's coming in. But he was pressed at the beginning. Then there wasn't a threat, but the threat came from my other key on that block there. If he was off, kind of had, let's go back. Let's say if he lined up more back here, Tom, what I'm doing is I'm looking right at that tackle right away. And I'm going to gauge run or pass based off of that. All right. And then kind of let my keys, if they're going to do anything, come in, crack down. They're carrying a brick, right? They're going to do something naughty if they're coming down back against the grain. But I'm going to let kind of that determine where my eyes are going to go. We work inside out. What was the next play? Even more perfect example of maybe why we switch our keys here. So this is a try, but could definitely come into play anytime inside the 10. And so when we're going in, when we're going to score, right, goal to go, whatever, as we get closer to the goal line, and we have goal to go, the adage is that we want to stick with our keys longer because it's a very compressed area, right? There's not a ton of open space, so everybody's in tighter, and so a whole lot less space to move, and probably a whole lot more opportunity to foul. And so we kind of stick with our keys longer, and we always stick with our keys. And the adage there is that stick with them until they're free of or free from fouling, right? If they're going on a passing route and they beat their defender, right? Well, he's free of and free from fouling now, right? There's not really a threat at that point. So until the ball is in the air, then our eyes will go there. So just that's the old adage: free of or free from foul is kind of how long we're going to stick with that key. All right. So the old mechanic there, I outlined our little box again in the middle of the field. Our old mechanic had us taking this guy because what? Outside the tackle, we have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. And so we're going to default to the line judge's side of the field. So our old mechanic is we would take this guy out here. That'd be our key. And you know, that defender's pretty close, so we're going to have to stick on him, right? And so let's see what he does coming off the ball. Comes off. Is he free of or free from fouling right now? No, I'm going to stick with him. So in our old mechanic, where would my eyes be? My eyes would be all the way over here. My head would be turned, or maybe my body. I have no idea what's going on right in front of me anywhere, right? And so this is why I hated the old mechanic personally, was this specific scenario. And especially when we work our high school football games, you're not, you know, and they go double twins, you're not going to have 4 D-backs that come up and press them all and whatever else. Usually there'll be some wiggle room, and your key might not be threatened very often, so you could still come in and take the peek at the tackle and get a read. So that was the old mechanic, and my nightmare with it. And so in our new mechanic, here's our key here. There's some room there, right? And so I'm gonna take a quick peek at that tackle. All right, he's stepping back. We got a pass coming. So now my key's right here. I can see my hat looking at this guy in this direction because he's going to come right through the middle. All right. And this is kind of a good look at it as well. There's our key. And I'm going to be looking at him the entire time after I get that pass read. And there's Johnny with my new football. Thanks, buddy. But that's just one advantage of why this mechanic that we're doing is a huge benefit for us, and kind of getting us closer to where we need to be. I mean, if I'm looking out at that far guy out on the way outside right there, I have no idea what's happening over here, and it's just kind of setting us up maybe for a doctor bill at some point, you know, because you have no idea what's coming in your lap. So that's a huge advantage for us in changing that around. I think all I have right now, I just have 2 more out of that one. Kind of same deal as far as keys and coverage. If it lets me
Hey,
load.
hey, Jeff, question on that one.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so if you go back to that play,
Yep.
your key actually ran the pattern into the end zone and was the intended receiver. Now,
Correct.
the slot on the left actually came back to the quarterback on a fake end around.
Mm-hmm.
Flip that around now. Your guy goes back toward the quarterback, that your key, and the other slot on the left side comes down the middle of the field.
Beautiful question. Let's go back. We'll look at it. That's a great question for all of us to look at here. Play number 17. Let's flip it around and let's key on the other guy.
Well, you would still be keying on the slot in the on the
Yep.
line judge side here.
Yep.
But let's
And I would say that's, oh, let's go back. So right now he's threatened, right? Because he's going to come off that ball and he's going to do something. We expect him to come forward, right?
Mhm.
And he's going to lock up, or he's going to try and get away from, or maybe he's going to block this guy downfield and somebody's going to come underneath and catch a pass, right? I mean, that guy is lined up within the yard line of scrimmage. That's a threat right now. And so, yep, we're keen on this guy and I'm sticking on him right now.
So
right now, I'm off. I'm off him right now because I know what's happening. I mean, he's not a threat. He's not a threat. He's in Royce's lap, or my line of scrimmage official is going to see this action, right? He's no longer a threat, so I need to find one.
So now you're probably going to transition to the guy on the right.
Right, now in my peripheral vision, I can see, oh, this guy's coming at me. All right, here we go. Right? But awesome question. Awesome question. Because, yeah, that's the whole adage of, you know, when am I on my key? When do I get off my key? When do I go to zone? Stuff like that. So if we were keying on this guy, yep, right now I'm on him. Something's happening right off the ball here. And the second he goes back in the backfield right there, I'm off.
Okay.
Because he's no longer a threat for me.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to look through all of that and make some sort of call. But yeah, great question. Great question there.
Thanks for covering that. Yep.
Absolutely. That's a great question. All right. We have a bunch formation. We've got some motion. Just 2 plays here. All right. So what we have, I am going to say, so again, for strength of formation, it has to do with number of eligibles outside of the tackle. This guy here is kind of iffy. I'm saying that he's not outside the tackle because he'll be shading his foot. So I'm going to say we don't count him towards eligibility. We have 2 guys here that are eligible, right? And then we've got a guy who's outside the tackle box here. He's eligible. So we have 2 up top and 2 on the bottom. And so when we're balanced, we default to line judge's side of the field. So our key would be right here. We'll see right now, boom, he goes in motion. All right, so what do we know about motion? Galaxy, are you still on? Galaxy S20. All right.
I'm here.
Can you see this play or not?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So what are you thinking here? Comes in motion.
Well, he goes in motion, so the motion guy, the key is the line of scrimmage official.
Line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage officials are picking them up, ruling on eligibility of motion and everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, what kind of threat is this if he goes in motion in the backfield for a back judge?
Oh, there's no threat there.
Right. And so what we do is I always say take a snapshot at the snap. Take a snapshot at the snap And that's as soon as he goes in motion, there really wasn't much room for him. It's not like he's coming in motion from out here and then they snap the ball here. There was, if he's coming at all this way, he's going to be off our radar. And so we have 2 eligibles over here and 1 on the backside. So now our eyes need to come over here. So we're on this side. Well, I'm going to call this a bunch situation. They're kind of right together, right? I don't know if technically a bunch has to be 3, but they're tight together, right? And one guy's behind the other. Well, it's kind of works out in a good world because you're going to see all this action. But in this situation, what would be more threatening?
Well, in this situation, we just let them declare before we go anywhere.
Exactly. So you stare at that pile. So you can see how 45 is kind of inside there. I didn't like that. Plus, he's probably going to be, whatever action happens here, we're going to see it all because they're all together, right? But if we go, according to the book, 40 would be our key. But like Matt said, we're going to see all of that action right there. So we let them declare what their actions are going to be. Let's say they run pass routes. 40 comes straight down the field. Boom, he's ours now, right? 88, goes and out. He's into the line of scrimmage territory. But right out of the gate, we're going to be staring right at this action, and we're going to see whatever action they're doing. But this guy in the front is going to be threatened more than anybody because he's closer to that defense, and defense is closer to him. So right now, that's where our key would be, and where we would be looking. Blocks down, okay, legal block, good. We catch this action on this guy maybe a little bit as well, but line of scrimmage probably sees that whole block. But we watch him block down. That's good. We saw it good. Okay, 70's out here looking for somebody. And the play kind of comes right to us. But that's motion when we deal with motion. And I'll tell you, just take a snapshot, take a picture at the snap. And that's where our key is going to shift to, or where we might get off of. But because that guy was so tight to the tackle box, and he's coming already, get him off your radar and switch over. Because now this is the strength side as far as eligibility. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yeah, it makes sense. Communicate that or does it just assumed with the other officials, the other lines people that?
Great question.
Because pre-snap, you're kind of saying, if it seems balanced, I'm going this way, but then do you make any comments as to, okay, going from head judge to line judge side now?
Sometimes I'll say the only communication I'll have pre-snap on this one, I bet I said, let's say my line judge's or my head linesman's name is Matt. If this guy, because he's so close there, I might tell Matt 41 is out, meaning out of the tackle box. So now we're considering him in strength of formation scenario. If there's somebody really close there, fringing on in the tackle box or out of the tackle box, we consider them in until I will tell them he's out. So we need to be able to tell if they're in or out, and if it's really close, I'll give them information on that. But when somebody goes in motion, that's something that's rehearsed within your crew, and line of scrimmage officials know that they're picking up that motion person, and now that they're kind of off the radar as far as strength of eligibles in this formation, because he's inside the tackle box here when this ball is snapped. And so it's just something to talk about with your crew. Hey, this guy goes in motion. Remember, line of scrimmage official, I think, is it coming to or going away from? I think it's coming to, no, I'll say going away from is the rules and legality of that motion. But they know, once somebody goes in motion, that definitely could switch up our strength of formation. Plus, they already know that they're going to be on the widest guys to begin with. Now, is that, and the back judge is going to pick up too, if they have more than, if they have 3 or more eligibles on that side of the field. So I think that makes it easier as well, because the line of scrimmage guy is just like, oh, this is my key. That's my key. They're going to be on that widest guy. So that makes it real easy for them too. But good question. Yeah, we don't have any chatter as far as, all right, my guy now, cause he's in motion, or, you know, Tom, that's yours, cause, you know, he's inside the tackle box now. No, we just stay off the radios, and it's just kind of, you need to know that.
Yeah, I would say we don't want to be on the radios when that snap's imminent, because we have to be focused, locked in, and somebody's trying to tell you something. It's like, are they talking to me? What did he say? He was yelling in the radio. I can't understand it. You know, that kind of thing. The other thing I want to say about this, Jeff, is that this is all covered during the pregame, and then it can also be covered during your scouting of the team in the previous week. And you see this kind of stuff, this is going to be brought up. And then when it happens, it's just like you've seen it a million times. It's just straightforward, easy.
Easy, nice. Yeah, good, excellent points there too. Like kind of what I was talking to. You get used to working something you cover in the pregame, but you cover it in the pregame, and you're over and over in your first couple of years, and then it's just old hat. You're used to it. I think I just have one more play. Has to do with some crossing routes and action. All right, so we're getting close to the goal line here. And this was before we had our fun kind of conversation about when the back judge leaves, do they come up and help and things like that. So we're at the 10, so I'm just going to stay on the goal line here. And so let's just back up a little bit. Yep. Thanks, Matt. I'm way back on the end line. There we go. 2 eligibles here, eligible up top. So what do? We're balanced. So we default to line judge's side of the field. So this is back judge key right now. And they're not, our key, I'll probably go this way first. Our key isn't threatened. And so I'm going to peek in at his buddy and get a runner pass. All right, we got a pass read right now. So he's going to come out on a route, and I'm going to go back. And so, again, stick with your keys longer. So he's going to come out on a route. All right, free from following there. But I got 2 more guys that are kind of going to come join the party, coming right into our lap. So my guy goes across. All right. Got 2 more guys coming across. They're kind of open, right? 40's action over here, right? Very, he wanted maybe to do something, maybe not. I don't know, right? And so especially once we get tight to that goal line, we need to stick with our keys and really own that. That's all of it's happened right in our lap. Right? So whose key is that initially? It's going to be our line a guy, a head linesman down here on the bottom, right? But it kind of comes in our lap as well. So we got guys crossing the middle, and right now the ball's in the air. And so I'm probably looking at this contact, if there's contact, if there's not. But just one of those things as we get close to the goal line. Now, let's go back to our old mechanic, right? And we'd have this guy all the way up to the top. And what does he do? I don't know what he does. Granted, because he's not really threatened, I would get back in the middle really quick and kind of go zone at this point, and then I would pick up that action. But let's say he was pressed out there. I don't know if anybody has any knowledge, aside from maybe I hope my head linesman does, as to what happened on this play. You know, hey, they're blocking my outside linebacker or whoever it might be, right? I don't think there was really any block there. He might have wanted to set up a post move, and if he does that, it's pretty deliberate. Well, who does that open up the pass for? Our original key, right? Coming underneath. And so if he posts up right now, if he stops and posts up, and we get a pass that comes right down here, we're going to have issues, and we're going to have to piece some information together, because that would have been a pretty deliberate act. You know, a lot of mess going on there in the middle, but again, just another great talking point as to why it's so important that we kind of did our switcheroo on keys, and now we can kind of stare down all that action. My guy's coming across the middle, got 2 more guys coming at me. What's threatening right now? Oh, we got a guy posting up. But at the same time, yeah, you don't want anybody to take anybody's head off either. any brick carriers in there. Any questions on that one? That's the last play I had. So any questions in general?
Yeah, I just have a quick one on just the reception of a punt. And is the rule pretty standard on like a high punt if are we given the returner 3 feet in a fair catch situation and a return situation? Or, because I see a lot of times it's a little bit of mayhem and there's a fair catch and he's running up to it and there's almost contact, right? And almost contact causes, you know, this guy to dip his head.
Mayhem, right? Like you said, you had a good word.
Yeah.
Mayhem. So it says while scrimmage kick is in flight beyond the neutral zone to the receiver's goal line, kicking team player cannot obstruct R's path to the ball. All right. So that's what you're ruling on. Yeah, like you said, mayhem. This
There's
guy's
no
coming down.
distance.
This guy's coming up. Right. There used to be people would talk about a halo and whatever else.
Yeah.
Right. So he cannot obstruct R's path to the ball. He cannot touch the ball or the return player unless he's blocked into it. That return player, we had that first play where we could have almost had that. Right. So if you're a kicking team player and R comes up signaling for a fair catch, you can't touch him. You can't touch the ball. And you cannot obstruct his path to the ball. And that's almost sometimes the one that we get because we don't know where these punts are going. And so you get a returner that takes off that way and kicking team has no idea where the ball is, right? And then all of a sudden this kicking team player is obstructing that return team's player path to the ball. And so Tom, that's one of those age-old judgment questions in the fact that you're gonna have to decide, you know, here comes K, here comes R. If he touches him, like fair catch, right? He's giving himself up. So yeah, he needs to have space, right? Did he get obstructed to catching that ball? If he gets contacted, it's KCI for sure, right? But it's just one of those plays that you're just gonna need reps and reps and reps. But yeah, like you said, you know there's gonna be mayhem, you know there's gonna be a mess. Then you just gotta decide, all right, was he obstructed? Was his path obstructed to that ball? A good question. And that's why, again, you get paid the big bucks to judge that one.
So there's no distance credo or halo that you kind of live by, you know, within a yard or anything like that. It's just contact deal.
No, no credo. I would, no, you know, at another level, they have a yard. You can't come within a yard or their frame, but that's not a high school rule, but it is a good indicator. And Tom, I think it's going to stick out to you. You know, if he comes up and he has to short arm this thing, and then that guy touches him, yeah, throw the flag. What are you doing? Get out of his way. I would call that obstructing his path to the ball. Plus, he touched R. He's not supposed to. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna stick out to you. You can't obstruction. You'll see a guy take a step this way or to the side or something. Well, he made him go that way. You obstructed his path to get to that ball. He has that right. Good one. Anything else out there tonight, fellas?
Nothing for me, Hobbs. Good job.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for joining us and everybody else too. Oh, sorry, I'm bad at chat. What do I got in chat? Tom, you said, do we fall for, yeah, we just talked about that. Sorry, I'm a bad Zoom presenter / operator. Sorry, Tom. But then Tom, too, go back. I don't know if we talked a ton KCI in last week's or last time's meeting. We did talk all sorts of kicks, scrimmage kick stuff. So if you have the opportunity to go back on the RAOA website, they're posted on there. But other than that, thanks, fellas. Thanks a lot. Thanks for participating. One more. Let me know if there's anything that you're really wondering about or we want to put out the next time we talk.
Good example. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks
Yep,
for joining, guys.
Thank you,
Be
Jeff.
well.
All right.
Have a
Take
good one.
care. We'll see
you
you next
later.
time.
Yep. Bye bye.